Have you ever wondered how the echoes of a war can linger, scarring generations long after the last shot? We voyage back to Nigeria, site of the tragic Biafran War, a devastating civil conflict that engulfed Africa over half a century ago. Nigeria, in the late 60s, was teetering on the edge. Barely 6 years after being freed from British rule, the nation was torn by ethnic and religious strife. This turmoil peaked with the brutal massacre of the Igbo people in 1966, predominantly in northern Nigeria. One cannot overlook Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the indigenous people of Biafra's IPOB leader, in discussing justice, equity, and abducted from Kenya in a controversial manner and imprisoned in Nigeria. His release would symbolize a significant stride towards justice. It could also pave the way for unity and reconciliation in a nation still wrestling with the remnants of the conflict. His release would not only be a significant step for justice and equity, but also set the tone for unity and reconciliation in a country still grappling with the aftermath of the conflict. Enter Lieutenant Colonel Odumegwu Ojukwu, the military governor of eastern Nigeria. An audacious leader, Ojukwu was a man who believed in decisive actions. Stirred deeply by the suffering and injustices endured by his people, he stood firm against the face of adversity. When negotiations with the Nigerian government reached a stalemate, Ojukwu, ever the man of conviction, took the situation into his own hands. He refused to stand by while his people continued to suffer. He knew he had to take a daring step to ameliorate the conditions for his kinsmen. On a day that would ultimately go down in history as a monumental one, May 30th, 1967 to be exact, he courageously declared the independence of the Republic of Biafra. This audacious action, though intended to bring about peace, unfortunately, set the stage for a brutal civil war. A move that would plunge Nigeria into a horrific civil war. For 3 grueling years, the Biafran War relentlessly raged on, tearing apart the fabric of the Nigerian society. It was a conflict that drew the attention of the world. The Biafrans, in spite of being vastly outnumbered and outgunned, proved to be astonishingly formidable opponents. They held their ground with an unwavering resolve, displaying a strength of spirit that was nothing short of remarkable. In the face of adversity, they endured countless hardships. The most devastating of these trials was a brutal blockade imposed upon them, which led to an agonizing widespread famine. This event triggered an unprecedented humanitarian crisis that shocked the global community. The world stood still, engulfed in horror and disbelief, as haunting images of emaciated Biafran children, victims of this atrocious war, flooded international media. The stark reality of their suffering was a chilling reminder of the horrific cost of conflict. Despite their resilience, the Biafrans were fighting a losing battle. This conflict, so often overshadowed in global history, was a fierce and brutal confrontation that lasted for 30 months between July 1967 and January 1970. The backdrop to this was the deeply rooted ethnic and religious tensions that had been simmering in Nigeria for years. The Biafrans, primarily of the Igbo ethnic group, declared secession from Nigeria after what they perceived as years of marginalization and a failure by the Nigerian government to adequately address their grievances. Engaging in what was a David versus Goliath standoff, the Biafrans were heavily outnumbered and outgunned. Despite suffering from poverty, lack of international recognition, and a crippling blockade, they held their ground and fought with an unwavering spirit. The war on January 15, 1970, when Biafra surrendered to Nigeria. The conflict claimed over 3 million lives, most from hunger and disease, leaving deep scars on the Nigerian landscape and its people. The echoes of Biafra still resonate today. It's been decades since the Civil War ended, but its impacts live on, etched deeply into the heart of the nation. The Biafran War was a conflict rooted in ethnic and religious differences, a horrifying saga of human suffering and destruction that saw the loss of over 1 million lives. The war was a brutal testament to the devastating effects of such conflicts. The scars of this war have been seared into the collective memory of the Nigerian people. It serves as a stark reminder of the catastrophic consequences when harmony is forsaken in favor of division. The Biafra conflict unveiled the complexity of Nigeria's ethnic and religious landscape. It underscored the importance of fostering unity, understanding, and respect amongst its diverse population. Reflecting on the war's history allows us to understand the necessity of unity. It is a heart-rending lesson from our past, urging us to embrace diversity, to seek comprehension and tolerance in a country as varied as Nigeria. It also highlights the urgent need for unity and understanding in a country as diverse as Nigeria. So what has been learned? And most significantly, what steps are yet to be taken? We address the leaders of Nigeria, imploring that they pay attention to the lessons emanating from Biafra. Refrain from allowing the specters of bygone eras to negatively impact Nigeria's future. Endeavor to cultivate unity and foster understanding among the numerous diverse ethnicities and religious factions that contribute to the fabric of our glorious nation. The seeds of dialogue need to be sown and nurtured rather than resorting to violent means. Comprehension should be sought, and intolerance should be discarded. The pursuit of peace should be paramount, far outweighing the destructive consequences of war. It is crucial to remember that a nation that turns a blind eye to the lessons of its past is on a perilous path, destined to revisit those pitfalls. We must not allow the narrative of Biafra to be a recurring tale in our country's history. Alternatively, it should serve as a lesson, a guide, a catalyst for change and action. It should remind us of the errors of our past and inspire us to make better decisions, to strive for a more harmonious existence. It should illuminate the path towards a better future for all Nigerians, irrespective of their ethnic or religious backgrounds. Because, in the final analysis, the power of unity outweighs the might of weaponry. It is the strength of our unity, our shared sense of purpose, and our collective will to build a better Nigeria that truly defines us as a nation. For in the end, it is not the strength of our weapons, but the strength of our unity that defines us as a nation. The Biafran War is not simply a chapter in a history book. In its stark reality, it stands as a stern testament to the deep horrors of conflict, embossed by the blood and tears of countless innocents. Each page figuratively stained with the innocent lives lost, families displaced, and nations shaken to the core. It is a poignant of our past, urging us to confront the grim realities of war in order to prevent the recurrence of such tragic events in the future. This war serves as an echo from an era of devastation, a cry that resonates throughout history. It is a haunting reminder of the cost paid by millions for the missteps of a few. It is not merely a story, it is a wound that still pains, a scar that remains visible even after decades. A wound that tells tales of bloodshed, tales of agony, tales of human suffering. Moreover, it is a plea, a desperate call from the past to the future, beseeching us to ensure that no such calamity is allowed to transpire again. It is a perennial reminder of the price of inaction and complacency. And to the ruling class of Nigeria, we must implore you, the choice is yours. With the legacy of this war etched in the annals of history, let it guide your decisions. May you learn from the past and strive for a future devoid of such atrocities. Make the right one. In the shadow of the Biafran War, figures have emerged, embodying the endurance of the Biafran spirit and the unyielding quest for independence. Prominent among them is Nnamdi Kanu, a leader in the modern Biafran movement, a man who has dedicated his life to the cause, and in doing so, sparked a flame that continues to burn brightly in the hearts of many. Kanu's role as a leader is not without controversy. From his audacious proclamations to his defiant stance against the Nigerian government, his actions have incited a myriad of reactions, ranging from admiration to outrage. Yet it is undeniable that his voice has been instrumental in reigniting the discourse around Biafran independence, a conversation that had been relegated to hushed whispers in the dark corners of society. However, the question of Biafran independence remains a contentious issue. While some view it as the only path to redemption, others believe it would usher in a new era of conflict. Yet amidst these polarizing views, one thing remains clear. the echoes of Biafra continue to resonate, stirring the spirit of resistance and the yearning for freedom. As we delve deeper into the legacy of Nnamdi Kanu, we are reminded of the ongoing struggle for independence, a struggle that continues to shape the political landscape of Nigeria. And as we grapple with the echoes of the past, let us remember the lessons that history has taught us and strive towards a future where peace is not a fleeting dream, but a tangible reality. This video serves as a stark reminder of the tragedy of misrule and its devastating consequences. The echoes of Biafra reverberate, reminding us of the horrifying toll of the Biafran War. Over 3 million lives extinguished, countless others forever scarred. We take this moment to call upon the leaders of Nigeria. There is a dire need for restitution, a need to acknowledge and make amends for the lives lost during the war. A war that was birthed from the seeds of discord sown by the flaunting of the Aburi Accord. And so, we call upon General Gowon. The time has come for an open apology to the Nigerian people. The time has come to acknowledge the missteps that led to the declaration of Biafra, and ultimately the war. Our history is marred by this dark chapter, but we must not shy away from it. Instead, we must confront it, learn from it, and ensure that such a tragedy is never repeated. The echoes of Biafra serve as a stark reminder, a warning to current and future leaders of the dire consequences of misrule and the importance of acknowledging past mistakes. May this call for restitution and apology pave the way for a new chapter in our history. A chapter marked not by conflict but by reconciliation, not by division but by unity. As we grapple with the echoes of the past, let us strive towards a future where peace is not a fleeting dream, but a tangible reality.